on Y News. Repatriated Filipino workers from Saudi Arabia received government cash assistance and educational privileges for their children.
The Supreme Court hears petitioners defend their arguments to stop the burial of late President Ferdinand Marcos at the libingan ng mga bayani.
President Rodrigo Duterte visits the wounded, attends a wake of killed soldiers in an encounter with the Abu Sayyaf group in Patikul, Sulu, and assures assistance to bereaved relatives.
Suspected drug lord Melvin Odicta had established connections with big-time drug lords during his imprisonment in the new Bilibid Prisons in 1989.
The Commission on Elections assures that printed ballots for the Barangay and SK Polls will not go to waste despite its postponement.
And small wishes from wishers get granted at the second anniversary of Wish FM 1075.
Y News begins now.
UNTV News and Rescue Command Center. This is Y News with Angelo Castro III, Gerry Alcantara, and Darlene Basingan.
Good evening. Some repatriated overseas Filipino workers from Saudi Arabia are thankful for the current administration's swift action. Rosalie Cos will tell us why.
These are Mr. Lester and Mr. Fernando. Both of them were stranded in Saudi Arabia for more than a year because of pending complaints they filed against their companies, which failed to give them compensations they deserved. They are only two of thousands of Filipinos who lost their jobs because of the current financial crisis being experienced by some companies in Saudi Arabia due to the drop of oil price in the world market. Although they have bad experiences abroad, they are still thankful for the swift action of the government regarding their request.
Natutuwa ako. Hindi naman ako, ultimong tao lang po ako. Kahit papaano, masaya sa kalooban. Ngayon lang po nangyari. Yung sitwasyon sa amin, sinalubong kami pagdating dito. Presidente po sumalubong sa amin. At hindi lang nakipagkamayan din po ako sa kanya. Masaya po sa kalooban at sana ang kanyang programa sana magpatuloy.
Sana pakatagal namin istandi doon sa Saudi, tapos nagbigay pa siya sa amin ng mga financial assistant, yung 20,000 saka 6,000 sa pamilya namin. Kaya pasalamat po kami sa Pangulo namin, ma'am. Saka lahat po ng tumutulong naman ho dahil sa order niya.
President Rodrigo Duterte himself welcomed the 128 repatriated overseas Filipino workers who arrived in the country from Alcantara, Saudi Arabia. He gave each of them 5,000 pesos cash assistance aside from the 26,500 pesos provided first by the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration or OWA. The OFWs are also given a privilege to enroll their children to state schools and universities freely through the Office of the President. Aside from this, the OFWs are given the chance to borrow capital to start a small-scale business through the Department of Trade and Industry. And most of all, the Chief Executive promised to do his best to increase economic growth rate and solve the problems of peace in Mindanao, illegal drugs, and corruption in the government. This is to discourage our fellow Filipinos from going abroad to look for greener pastures.
We are not so bad actually naman ang ekonomiya natin. Maghihintay-hintay lang kayo ng bigyan mo lang ako kunting panahon. Paayusin ko lang ang ekonomiya. At ang may opportunity for you to work here. We are not really exceeding the expectations, but we are on target sa ating growth. We have hit a phenomenal of 7, but it's not something to crow about. We have to do more. And paano natin pabilisin para marami yung pumasok negosyo, just like in Saudi Arabia. Maraming mga negosyo doon, investments.
Rosalie Coz, UNTV News and Rescue, Pasay City.
President Rodrigo Duterte went straight to Zamboanga City right after an event in Naiya this morning. Marge Navarro will tell us why.
President Rodrigo Duterte personally expressed his condolences and utmost apologies to the bereaved families of 15 soldiers killed in the recent encounter with the Abu Sayyaf group in Sulu.
I am sorry that this has to happen. I do not want it happen again. Kung maaari lang.
He promised to provide assistance to the widows and orphans of the fallen soldiers.
Now, itong mga naiwan na pamilya sa sundalo, ng mga sundalo, I'd like you to know that kayo, automatic member kayo sa 4Ps.
This means they will receive allowances and 1 sack of rice every month. The widows of the fallen soldiers will be provided with livelihood assistance, and their children will have the chance to have free college education. Later on, the president visited the wounded soldiers at Camp Navarro General Hospital, inside the headquarters of the Armed Forces of the Philippines Western Mindanao Command, and those confined in other hospitals. Their families thanked the president for his gesture, while hoping that they will be able to attain justice for what had happened to their loved ones. For what happened, the president left with a promise that the administration will not stop until the bandit group is completely eradicated. In fact, the government has sent an augmentation force to further intensify the offensive operations against the ASG. Marge Navarro, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Philippine National Police's records show that the alleged drug lord of Iloilo City, Melvin Odicta, was involved in illegal drug trade. Leia Ilagan will tell us why.
Itong si Melvin Odicta was convicted sa possession of marijuana at that time in 1991. Pero subsequently, I guess in 1994 or 1995, parang na-revise yung penal code at saka na-lower yung yung sentence. So he served that sentence, kaya ngayon nasa labas na sila.
Melvin Boyet Odicta, the alleged drug lord of Iloilo, had criminal records as he was arrested by NARCOM agents for selling marijuana in an entrapment operation at Barangay Tanza, Iloilo City on March 6, 1989. Odicta was meted a life term on December 4, 1989 by the Iloilo Regional Trial Court Branch 26, and the Supreme Court upheld the sentence on May 15, 1991. He was then transferred to the new Bilibid Prison. PNP's document reveals that Odicta met big-time drug lords while inside the NBP. In 1995, however, Odicta was released because of the Republic Act 7659 over Republic Act 6425 on the grounds that he had served his sentence based on the revised schedule of penalties. Odicta allegedly returned to his illegal activities in 1997. In 1998, he met Miriam, the widow of Bonjing Porras, who was known as a drug personality operating in Tanza, Esperanza, Iloilo. After 5 years, Odicta surrendered himself to Police Chief Superintendent Bartolome Tobias and the intelligence operatives Police Chief Inspector Mario Linameng and Police Superintendent Policarpio Sigubre, who are both retired now. Odicta sworn to cooperate with the authorities, so he was removed from the list of drug personalities in 2003.
Kasi validate na anay. Tapos kung ma-out nga wala na siya engage, so ikaw na, i-delete. After 6 months, i-delete na siya.
Based on the information gathered by the PNP, Shabu was transported from Manila to Iloilo through a yacht owned by Odicta. The delivery of illegal drugs to their customers through his taxi units was managed by his son Melvin Odicta Jr. or Vinvin. They were known as Dragon, which is on the list of drug personalities. The Odicta couple denied the accusation when they surrendered to the Department of Interior and Local Government Secretary Ismael Sueno.
Ang narinig ko, he is well known, itong si Dragon is well known as a drug lord. Sabi niya, hindi siya si Dragon. Ang wife niya admits na she is known as Dragon kasi she was born in the year of the dragon. Naririnig ko lang. So many people link Dragon to Odicta.
Melvin and Miriam Odicta were shot dead after getting off a ferry to Kataklan Port early on Monday. Leia Ilagan, UNTV News and Rescue Camp Krame.
Motorists along some choke points in EDSA are experiencing moderate to heavy traffic. Joan Nano is at Cubao, Aurora to tell us why live. Go ahead, Joanne.
Good evening, Jago. We are now right here in Aurora, Cubao to know the latest traffic situation along EDSA as of this moment. Here in Cubao, Aurora, let's begin to the southbound area for those who are going to Santolan, Ortigas, Shaw Boulevard, and Bonnie Avenue. As you can see right now, since there are lots of vehicles, travelers are now experiencing heavy traffic. While for those who are passing along EDSA northbound, vehicles are also quite slow moving as of this moment. But for those who are taking the service road, motorists have nothing to worry because light traffic is now being observed in the area. Let's take a look at the traffic situation in Letre, Malabon. Travelers along C4 Road is now experiencing light traffic situation, while the opposite side of the road, for those who are going to Monumento, motorists will also feel a light traffic as of this time. Meanwhile, in EDSA Guadalupe, since there are influx of vehicles due to rush hour period, vehicles coming from Guadalupe going to Shaw Boulevard is now experiencing heavy traffic situation. Same with those motorists who are coming from Orense going to Ayala, Makati, vehicles are now in a moderate to heavy traffic. In Baclaran, Parañaque, vehicles coming from Baclaran traveling to Manila is quite slow moving. While for those who are coming from Ross Boulevard going to Baclaran Coastal Road, slow movement of vehicles is now being felt by the motorists. Heavy traffic is building up right there in Airport Road. Let's proceed in Quiapo, Manila. Motorists or vehicles going to Loton are now having a moderate to heavy traffic. Moderate traffic is also being experienced by those vehicles going to España since traffic is building up in Raon area. Once again, Jago, we would like to remind all the motorists out there that discipline and obeying traffic rules is very important to avoid any accidents along the road. And since tomorrow is Thursday, a number coding scheme is still being implemented, all vehicles with plate numbers ending in 7 and 8 is strictly prohibited in all major roads within Metro Manila from 7 o'clock in the morning until 7 o'clock in the evening. That was the latest traffic update. Back to you, Jago.
Thank you, Joan Nano, reporting live from Cubao, Aurora. Y News will be right back. The lawyer of the Odicta couple denies reports that Melvin Odicta had given the authorities a drug matrix. Yoshiko Sata tells us why.
The legal counsel of the Odicta couple says there is no truth behind allegations that his clients handed over a drug matrix to the authorities before they were killed last Monday. The legal counsel of Melvin and Miriam Odicta, attorney Raymond Fortune, argued that Melvin Odicta stated in his affidavit he strongly denied being alias Dragon or a notorious drug lord in Iloilo. Likewise, Fortune stressed that his client never mentioned of a drug matrix which he allegedly handed to the authorities.
Masisiguro ko po sa lahat na wala pong isinusumite si Melvin Odicta na drug matrix sa DILG, sa PNP o kahit sa kanyang mga abogado. Hindi ko nga namin alam kung saan nanggaling itong balita na ito
Fortune explained that his client only explained in his affidavit how he acquired his properties. Melvin also enumerated his properties in the document, such as a restaurant and some units of taxi cabs and vans that he used to operate in Iloilo City. The affidavit also stated Melvin's intention to stop his illegal drug activities. He was also willing to submit himself for rehabilitation.
Fortune also denied rumors about certain confidential documents regarding a gang to which the couple were members.
Kailan na nabuo itong Odicta gang na ito at kung ito nga na ay na-board na, no? Matagal na po natin to yung operation itong Odicta gang na to.
Fortune emphasized that there were people who have seen Melvin Odicta alive before the ambush at Caticlan Port last Monday.
Yung isang abogado ni Melvin Odicta, si Attorney Bert Catalunya, nakita pa niya na buhay si Melvin Odicta kahit tapos na yung barilan. Nakita niya na dinala ito sa isang police car, nakaposa at itinakay papunta sa ospital. So, laking gulat na lamang po nila bakit bigla na lamang nung hinabol nila papunta sa ospital. Pagdating sa ospital ay may tama na si Melvin Odicta sa noo at sa kapatid. So, siguro tingnan na lang po muna natin kung ano yung lalabas na investigasyon, no, na mismo ang palasyo ng mismong nagutos.
This was denied by the Police Regional Office 6.
There is no truth to that matter. When in fact, according to the Chief of Police Malay, Press Inspector Salvo, no less than the security guard of the duty port already issued an affidavit. That right there and then, nakita nila mismo na ang duwa is hindi na makabangon.
A reenactment at the crime scene was held today, led by Police Regional Director Chief Superintendent Jose Gentiles in aid of the investigation. Yoshiko Sata, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The number one drug personality in the watch list of Police Station 3 in Baguio City was gunned down by still unidentified suspect. Yoshiko Sata is back. Tell us why.
A man died on the way to Baguio General Hospital after he was shot dead by a riding in tandem in Barangay Nagong Bayan, Salud Mitra at 10:20 this morning. The victim was identified as Dante Viduya, 39, a resident of Barangay Basa Pacdal, Baguio City. Police Chief Inspector Marlo Evasco says the victim is the number one personality in the drug watch list of Police Station 3 in Baguio City. He had been invited many times to submit himself under Oplan Tokhang, but he did not show up in their station.
Itong victim, ito yung isang drug personalist number 1 ng Station 3. Ito naman, nag-voluntary submission din sa opisina, maski tinutokhang, ayaw naman pumunta sa opisina. Kasi itong previous na kaso, may kaso ito, victim, pinaswan ng misis noong physical and psychological abuse.
He was having coffee when a riding in tandem wearing helmet and bonnet stopped nearby. One of them alighted the motorcycle, approached him, and shot him. Evasco says the victim's wife filed in May 2016 a case of violating Republic Act 9262 or the Anti-Violence Against Women and Their Children Act of 2004.
Based on dito sa sa affidavit complaint ng asawa at mayroon din yung affidavit ng anak na ina-abuse itong yung misis binubugbog. Ito namang itong based on dito sa affidavit ng anak na nagbenta sila pumunta sila sa somewhere and ditong sa Imila Village na nakita ng anak na may inaabot na plastic daw na maliit at ibinigay din yung 500 yung nakita ng anak na yan sabi na talagang itong victim pusher.
Investigation is ongoing on the motive and the identity of the gunman. Yoshiko Sata, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The Criminal Investigation and Detection Group of the Philippine National Police continues its manhunt operation against another illegal recruiter following the arrest of the primary suspect. Aiko Miguel tells us why.
The Criminal Investigation and Detection Group or CIDG continues its nationwide manhunt operation against illegal recruiter Alejandro Navarro, who allegedly victimized over 200 aspiring OFWs who are mostly from Davao City. This following the arrest of 63-year-old Osmando Habelag Jr., the alleged mastermind of illegal recruitment activities. The suspect was arrested by the PNP Anti-Transnational Crime Unit in an entrapment operation.
Limited slots, bilateral agreement at first come first serve basis yung kanilang hiring. So talagang nag-uunahan.
One of the victims, alias Mike, gave 170,000 pesos as he was promised by Habilag to work in New Zealand as a butcher in just 1 to 2 months.
Sabi sa amin noong August 12 na mag-appearance kami sa POA. Hinanap po namin POA which is negative po. Then yung magpinsan na yan, wala pong record doon yung mga pangalan namin. Nagpulong-pulong at nag-decide para ireklamo yung 2 tao na yan.
Another victim, alias John, was also dismayed as he was promised that he could work at a hotel in Japan. To speed up the process, he was asked to pay 55,000 pesos as placement fee.
Yung employer na binigay niya is negative. Wala pa ho yung building na yun, tinatayo pa lang. 55,000 po. Pinangutang ko po yun sa 5-6. Until now, nagbabayad ho ako ng tubo.
According to the CIDG, the suspects took away around 10 to 11 million pesos from the victims. However, Habilag denied the allegations and insisted that he was just victimized by Alejandro Alex Navarro.
Manay Alex, harapin mo na yung totoo. Kasi yung ginawa mo sa akin, sirang-sira na yung pamilya ko. Yung anak kong 12 years old, gabi-gabi na lang umiiyak. Hindi ko alam na bakit ano ang galit mo sa akin at wala akong alam na kasalanan ko sa iyo. Maawa ka sa pamilya ko.
The authorities have confirmed that Habilag sent money to Navarro based on the receipts of the remittance transactions recovered from the suspect. But these are not proof that Habilag was just a victim. Fake IDs were also recovered from Habilag which have different names. He will be charged with large-scale estafa, illegal recruitment, and concealing true name which violates Presidential Decree 1829. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The Commission on Elections is studying the possibility of extending the suspension of the printing of ballots that will be used for the Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections. Victor Cosare tells us why.
Election lawyer attorney Romulo Macalintal believes postponing the Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections violates the Constitution. He explains that the postponement would only extend the term of incumbent barangay officials without securing a fresh mandate from the electorate. In response, the Commission on Elections or COMELEC says postponement of barangay elections is nothing new as it has already been done in the past.
The proposals to postpone the elections include what to do with the existing barangay officials. No? Some are saying it's holdover capacities, but earlier this morning I heard naman someone say OICs will be appointed.
Kung talagang sa palagay niya ay merong problema dito sa batas na ipapasa ng ating Kongreso, di pwede siyang dumulog sa Korte Suprema. At sila naman ang merong pasya, final decision kung ano bang ibig sabihin ng ating mga batas.
Based on the initial plan of COMELEC's printing committee, if Congress fails to pass a legislation or a resolution postponing the Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections, the printing of ballots for the said polls will push through on September 1. But because the two chambers of Congress agreed to pass a proposed bill rescheduling the elections on October 23 next year, the COMELEC is now studying the possibility of extending the suspension of the printing of ballots.
Pinag-aaralan ng komisyon kung pwede nating ma-extend yung suspension ng printing. Hindi pa natin tinitigil entirely kasi at this point, wala pa naman tayong basihan, literally speaking. No? Walang batas eh. Hinihintay pa rin natin, of course, yung batas mismo.
The National Printing Office has already printed more than 400,000 ballots before COMELEC suspended the printing last Friday. The poll body clarifies that the printed ballots won't be put to waste as it will still be used for the Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections.
All that we need to do is to amend the dates that's already been printed on the ballot as part of the election name.
Meanwhile, the Budget Department assures that the 5.9 billion peso budget allotted for the Barangay and SK elections can still be used next year should the schedule of the polls push through.
Because of the GAA as release document policy, then that amount has already been released to COMELEC although the COMELEC can use it for next year, walang terminal date ho yung ano. Hanggang hindi na-hold yung election, they can use that money. Okay.
Victor Posare, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
Petitioners assert their opposition to the burial of late former President Ferdinand Marcos at the libingan ng mga bayani in today's oral arguments at the Supreme Court. Roderick Mendoza will tell us why.
The Supreme Court today starts to hear the petitions challenging the planned interment of late President Ferdinand Marcos at the Hero Cemetery. Albay Congressman Ed Salagman and former Bayan Muna Party List Congressman Nery Colmenares argued for the petitioners. They say it is clear under Republic Act 289 who should be buried at the Hero Cemetery. These, they say, are Filipinos worthy of emulation and source of inspiration for the next generation.
So sige na, wag na natin gamitin mo yung hero, basta si Marcos ba ay maging modelo, worthy na pamarisan? Hindi, diktador siya magnanakaw at human rights violator. Source ba siya ng inspirasyon sa mga henerasyon ng Pilipino? Hindi rin. Kasi masamang modelo siya at hindi siya dapat nag-inspire. Otherwise, ang mangyayari, maging kurakot, maging diktador at human rights violator ang sunod na henerasyon.
Upon interpellation of Senior Associate Justice Antonio Carpio, Colmenares concedes that Marcos is not entitled to a burial at the Hero Cemetery because he was ousted during the 1986 People Power Revolution.
Kung ang isang sundalo na dishonorably discharged sa militar ay disqualified, lalo na ang Commander-in-Chief na dishonorably discharged hindi lang sa militar kundi ng sambayan ng Pilipino. Disqualified din si Marcos.
Justice Jose Perez asked whether the issue should be considered a political question which is not for the courts to decide. He asked if whether the people has already decided the issue since they elected President Duterte, who promised during the campaign that he will allow Marcos burial. Colmenares says Duterte has other promises such as ending illegal drugs and criminality.
Hindi mo alam kung ano ang dahilan kung bakit binoto si President Duterte kung kasama yon sa mga dahilan. Kahit nangako at nanalo, pero kung labag sa batas o labag sa konstitusyon, pwede pa rin questionin sa Korte Suprema.
Other justices asked if the court can exercise jurisdiction over the issues. Justice Perez quizzes Colmenares if the court can say that Marcos is not worthy of esteem, while Justice Teresita Leonardo de Castro asks if the court can decide who should be treated as heroes when there is no agency nor guidelines for it. The Supreme Court will resume the oral arguments next Wednesday to hear the side of the government. Roderick Mendoza, UNTV News and Rescue, Supreme Court.
President Rodrigo Duterte orders the government forces to lift the standing warrant of arrest against Moro National Liberation Front or MNLF leader Nur Miswari on charges of rebellion. The president reveals that he had a phone conversation with Miswari last night. According to the president, Miswari wants a dialogue with him in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. He also wants an immediate signing of an agreement for lasting peace in Mindanao.
Si Nur, nag-usap kami kagabi. Gusto niya sa Kuala Lumpur, yung OIC, at sabi niya, 2 araw magpirmahan na tayo, tapos lang away. Interesado ako kasi bakbakan dyan sa hulo hanggang ngayon. Sayang yung pera, sayang yung bala, ipatay mo rin sa kapwa mo Pilipino.
The Office of Civil Defense, led by its Administrator Undersecretary Ricardo Haladco, hosts the ASEAN Disaster Management Professionals graduation today at Camp Aguinaldo, Quezon City. Brian De Paz will tell us why.
Southeast Asia is one of the most disaster-prone regions in the world. Because of this, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations or ASEAN has been formulating policies and programs to build a disaster-resilient region. Through the vision of the One ASEAN One response, ASEAN's Coordinating Center for Humanitarian Assistance on Disaster Management or AHA launched the first ever AHA Center Executive Program in 2014.
One day, coordination in ASEAN will be just a phone call away because we have built trust and confidence among the players.
We hope that our graduates today could play the knowledge and skills they have acquired through the program.
Let your ACE program training be the element that will toughen your resolve to not only become excellent disaster management professionals, but become more compassionate brethren to the nations who may have fallen into difficult times brought about by hazards and disasters.
Today, 16 ASEAN disaster management professionals graduated from a 6-month training course under the said program. The course aims to develop and shape future leaders of disaster management in the ASEAN region. The primary purpose is to provide the trainees with exposure and help them learn capacity building in disaster management with a particular focus on regional emergency response logistics system.
It's a great platform para magsilbing guide natin sa pag-manage ng disasters.
They added that it is important to learn how to properly respond to disasters and calamities as far as networking and partnership is concerned. Brian De Paz, UNTV News and Rescue, Camp Aguinaldo.
1 week after the Sandigan Bayan released a resolution ordering the 90-day preventive suspension of Senator Joseph Victor Ejercito due to a graft case, the Senate is still undecided on its implementation. Senate President Coco Pimentel says he has no power to implement the order and to forward it to the Senate Committee on Rules.
If you look at the rules of the Senate, in the enumeration of the powers of the Senate President, it is not there to suspend the member of the Senate. Wala po dun yun. So I'm letting the Committee on Rules interpret the rules, find out where the power belongs or if the exercise of the power can be justified.
Senator Ejercito is facing a graft case in relation to the anomalous purchase of high-powered firearms using the Calamity Fund of San Juan City when he was still the mayor in 2008. Senator Alan Peter Cayetano has again lambasted Senator Laila De Lima for her alleged unfair handling of the Senate investigation on suspected cases of extrajudicial killings. Senator Laila De Lima, however, has no comments on Senator Cayetano's pronouncement. Joyce Balancio will tell us why.
Senator Laila De Lima is silent on the tirades against her by Senator Alan Peter Cayetano. The lady senator was not present at the Senate when Senator Cayetano highlighted her in his privileged speech. President Rodrigo Duterte's former running mate again criticized Senator De Lima for her handling of the Senate investigation on the alleged cases of extrajudicial killings.
Makikita niyo po ang statement ni Senator De Lima. Killings may lead to charges of crimes against humanity. Ang bigat naman. Isasama mo si Duterte, crimes against humanity. Yung mga kinakasuhan dyan, mga madmen eh. Mga kinakasuhan dyan, genocide. Pero ganyan po ang statement niya while she is chairing a hearing and saying that she can be neutral.
He also questioned the selection of witnesses that were presented during the hearing. As he said, these were not cases of extrajudicial killings.
Sa sariling definition ni Mr. Gascon, failed to investigate, prosecute, and punish. Paano na-fail? Iniimbestigahan na nga ng CHR. Iniimbestigahan na nga ng police. Facing murder na nga at iniimbestigahan ng Senado.
Senator Cayetano said the number of killings under the Duterte administration is highly sensationalized by the media when in fact it is just the same as the record of the previous administration. The senator said due to the unnecessary attention to the killings, the tourism of the country has been affected. Meanwhile, Senator Cayetano also requested for a cancellation of the hearing of Committee on Justice and Human Rights, which is scheduled on September 5. Though Senator De Lima has not yet issued a statement, she earlier confirmed the presentation of more witnesses on the next hearing. Joyce Balancio, UNTV News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
A child with a rare disease was able to undergo surgery through the program Serbisyong Kasangbahay. June Soriao tells us why.
This is Princess Nicole. She is a jolly 6-year-old girl. She was born with golden hair syndrome, a rare congenital defect characterized by incomplete development of the ear, nose, subpalate, lip, and mandible. She struggles to see and read. She couldn't enter a regular school for fear that her classmates would mock her appearance.
Meron po siyang tinatawag na dermoid dun sa corneal surface niya.
Through the program Serbisyong Kasangbahay, in cooperation with Fatima University Medical Center, Princess Nicole's condition was treated.
At maya-maya po, i-refer mo natin siya sa Department of Pediatrics for other physical examination. No? I-refer po namin siya kay Dr. Rodriguez, our cornea and external eye disease specialist po.
After a thorough eye examination, she promptly underwent a procedure called shave excision for lumbar dermoid. Her mother is thankful for the assistance that was extended to them.
Salamat ako talaga sa Diyos. Kasi ang tagal-tagal na namin inantay. Tagal-tagal na namin inantay ito, mga 6 taon na. So, finally, with God's help talaga. Ayan, natapos na yung operation.
After a successful surgery, Nicole is now able to join a regular school and does not fear of being mocked anymore. And to normalize her vision even more, she will undergo a series of operations.
Nagpapasalamat po ako sa Fatima University Medical Center sa pangunguna po ni Dr. Vic Santos at sa kanyang OPTA.
Buhay natutuwa na yung iba't ibang mga institutions at maging yung atin hong mga kaibigan ng mga doctors ay nakikibahagi dito ho sa ating advokasya na matulungan yung ating mga kapwa-taong talagang wala namang pagkukuhanan. Kaya ho, salamat po at kayo ay nakikisa sa amin sa atin hong paglilingkod sa ating mga kababayan.
Jun Suriao for Serbisyong Kasangbahay.
2 senior citizens get medical treatment even without leaving their barangay. Aiko Miguel will tell us why.
Aling Remedios had a stroke due to heart attack in 2011. Since then, she had difficulty in speaking and walking.
Inalulungkot ko, kaya po hindi ako gumaling dahil niisip ko yung aking sakit.
Aling Remedios is just one of more than 200 recipients who received free medical consultation and services from the medical mission at the Barangay Hall in Project 6, Quezon City this morning. Aling Remedios was weeping tears of joy because she was given free medicines. She doesn't have to beg her friends for help with buying medicines anymore.
Nagpapasalamat naman po ako at nalaman ko po at meron po nakapagsabi kaya po ako nagmamadali pong bumaba dito at inasikaso naman po ako kaya nagpapasalamat naman po ako dito. Nabigyan po ako ng gamot dahil wala na po ako talagang gamot. Yun lang po ang hinahanap ko at saka yung therapy po. Tsaka yun daw po meron daw po dito sa puso.
Another recipient is Tatay Ricardo, who patiently waited in line to see a doctor despite finding difficulty with walking due to polio. He is greatly relieved by the free medicine and by the chance to consult with a doctor free of charge.
Yung sa blood pressure ko biglang tumataas, tsaka yung sa almoranas ko. Pag ganitong panahon na mainit.
The barangay captain of Project 6 Quezon City also gave his message to the organizers who made it possible for the residents to enjoy the free services.
Kailangan ho talaga ng barangay ng tulong ho na talagang nakakataba ng puso. At muli, maraming salamat sa UNTV. Saludo po kami sa inyo, kada niya rason at sa lahat ng pamunuan. Kay Eli Soriano, salamat, maraming salamat po sa inyo.
The mobile clinic ni Kuya is open from 6 to 10 in the morning. There are free medical, dental, legal, pedia, and optical consultation services rendered for our fellow men. And Saturday, September 3, the mobile clinic ni Kuya is off to Timoteo Elementary School, Barangay Bigti, Norzagaray, Bulacan. Aiko Miguel for Serbisyong Kasangbahay.
Y News, we'll be right back. The Philippines will import 250,000 metric tons or 5 million sacks of rice. The government's reference price is $425 per metric ton, which brings the total cost to almost 5 billion pesos. The bidding is done through government-to-government procurement with Thailand and Vietnam, from which the Philippines usually imports rice. The imported rice is to sustain the buffer stock of the National Food Authority or NFA for the following months. This is also in preparation for the possible effects of La Nina on agriculture in the last quarter of the year. The Philippines already imported 500,000 metric tons of rice last April, which was used to augment the deficit caused by the damage of El Nino last dry season. The NFA warehouse is now holding around 13.5 million bags of rice, good for 21 days. Authorities advise Hawaii residents to prepare as hurricanes may hit their area. Meanwhile, more than 300 reindeers died in Norway. Ray Pelayo will tell us why.
In Norway, a wild reindeer herd was hit by a lightning in southern Norway. A ranger found 323 dead and some injured in Hardangervidda mountain plateau during a storm. Hardangervidda has 10,000 reindeers. The experts are now studying the incident that was the first time to happen in the area. In Japan, 11 were found dead in northern Japan after Typhoon Lion Rock hit the region. Lion Rock has caused torrential rains which triggered widespread flooding. Hundreds were stranded while 3 are still missing. The dead bodies in the typhoon-hit area were found enveloped with muds. Around 100 flights were also cancelled due to the bad weather. Lion Rock is the tropical cyclone that entered the Philippine area of responsibility last week, which was locally named Dindo. In America, Hawaii is now bracing for 2 hurricanes that are expected to hit the island. Hurricane Madeline is packed with 193 km per hour of winds and may hit the island today. Following Madeline is a close distance in a Category 3 hurricane codenamed Lester. The camera of International Space Station captured the image of the 2 cyclones. Hawaii government has also instructed Hawaii residents to prepare. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue.
The southwest monsoon still affects the western section of northern Luzon. Rosalie Cos is at the UNTV Weather Center to tell us why. Rosalie, is there a low-pressure area affecting the country?
Good evening, Diego. The Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical and Astronomical Services Administration or PAG-ASA says the low-pressure area affects the southwest monsoon, which will bring rains over the western section of northern Luzon.
Okay, Rosalie, take it away.
Thank you, Diego. As of 4 p.m. today, the low-pressure area is estimated based on all available data at 310 kilometers east-northeast of Itbayat, Batanes. The southwest monsoon affects the western section of northern Luzon. Cloudy skies with light to moderate rains will be experienced over Ilocos region, Apayao, Cagayan, Batanes, Calayan, and Babuyan group of islands. While over the rest of the country and Metro Manila, partly cloudy to cloudy skies with isolated rain showers and thunderstorms will prevail. Tomorrow's forecast says temperature in Metro Manila may reach up to 31 degrees Celsius, Tuguegarao City at 32 degrees Celsius, Baguio City at 17 to 18 degrees Celsius, and Puerto Princesa City at 32 degrees Celsius. In Visayas, temperature in Metro Cebu may reach up to 34 degrees Celsius, Iloilo and Bacolod City at 31 degrees Celsius, and Tacloban City at 32 degrees Celsius. In Mindanao, Metro Davao may reach up to 34 degrees Celsius, Cagayan de Oro City at 33 degrees Celsius, Valencia City at 29 degrees Celsius, and Zamboanga City at 33 degrees Celsius. The State Weather Bureau says always keep monitor for latest weather updates. Keep safe everyone, but lean on and trust in the Almighty. That is our latest weather update. Back to studio.
Thank you, Rosalie Cos, reporting from the UNTV Weather Center.
An aurora hunter captures a light show in Finland. Meanwhile, the Italian government leads a state funeral that was held in Amatrice. Marge Navarro will tell us why.
In Italy, a state funeral was held Tuesday in Amatrice for some of the victims who were killed last week in the devastating earthquake. The country declared a national day of mourning on August 30 for the quake-affected victims. Till Monday evening, the total death toll from the massive 6.0 magnitude earthquake has touched 292. In California, a fast-growing brush fire prompted evacuation of roughly 700 people on Tuesday in Southern California's Riverside County. The blaze charred about 400 acres of vegetation as flames roared through canyons and foothills in the Cherry Valley area, about 75 miles east of Los Angeles. No property losses or injuries were reported. However, authorities issued mandatory evacuation orders for the Highland Springs Village Mobile Home Park and dwellings in the nearby Banning Bench community. And in Finland, an aurora hunter managed to capture a light show over Lapland in northern Finland on Monday night. Wanting to see the northern lights as clearly as possible, he drove out in the countryside some 30 kilometers from the Arctic Circle. The northern lights are the result of collisions between the Earth's gaseous particles and matter released by the sun's atmosphere. The collisions can jar the magnetosphere around the Earth's north and south poles, releasing colorful streams into the sky. Marge Navarro, UNTV News and Rescue.
The German national team prepares for the friendly match against Finland, which will also be Captain Bastian Schweinsteiger's last international game. Meanwhile, Sam Allardyce trains for the first time as England's manager ahead of the World Cup qualifying match. Victor Cosare tells us why.
Today is the last time to be with their captain Bastian Schweinsteiger as the German team enters the pitch for their friendly against Finland. The 2014 World Cup winner announced his retirement from international football in July, and today's friendly will be his 121st and last game for his country. Schweinsteiger played at 3 World Cups and 4 European Championship tournaments, though his international career ended in disappointment with a 2-0 defeat to France in the Euro 2016 semi-final. Meanwhile, Sam Allardyce took training for the first time as England manager ahead of his side's World Cup qualifying match against their Euro 2016 nemesis Slovakia. Allardyce, along with coaching staff including Sammy Lee, watched on as Captain Wayne Rooney, Jamie Vardy and Raheem Sterling trained at St. George Park in Burton-on-Trent. The former West Ham and Bolton Wanderers manager, Allardyce, said that he will use Rooney in a midfield position as opposed to the number 10 slot previous head coach Roy Hodgson used the Manchester United forward in. Earlier in the day, Rooney, who is England's all-time record scorer with 53 goals to his name, also announced he would be retiring from England duty after the completion of the World Cup in Russia 2018. Victor Cosare, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The Spanish town of Buñol prepares at least 150,000 kilograms of tomatoes. Meanwhile, Taiwanese artist creates a miniature sculptures as small as 0.5 millimeters in diameter from pencil lead. Robbie Dugisman tells us why.
About 150,000 kilograms of tomatoes were loaded on trucks and driven to Buñol, 38 kilometers west of the Spanish city of Valencia, ahead of the annual La Tomatina festival, where approximately 20,000 revelers will hurl tomatoes at each other in a narrow street of the town. Residents of the small town cover the facades of their shops and houses to protect them from the red juice and pulp, as they expect tens of thousands of people, some wearing goggles to protect their eyes from the flying fruit, to crowd the streets as they participate in the massive food fight. The Tomatina fight originates from a spontaneous bust-up amongst villagers in 1945. The event, banned for a time during the 1950s at the height of General Francisco Franco's dictatorship, has drawn a huge international following in recent years. Meanwhile, at his home in Taiwan's Yunlin County, miniature artist Lee Chien-chu creates miniature sculptures out of various types of pencil lead, all smaller than 0.5 centimeters in diameter. The piece of art he is holding up, however, is even smaller than that. Each of the 26 letters is 0.1 millimeters long and measures 0.5 millimeters in height and width. Carving one letter took Lee 40 minutes to complete. The materials he uses, graphite, mechanical and colored pencils, are cheap and easy to buy. Close to Lee's home is the Zilu Bridge, a famous landmark in Taiwan. He said its beautiful structure and bright red beams had attracted his attention, leading him to find a pencil with the exact same color of lead to recreate the complex bridge in miniature form. Robbie De Guzman, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Wish FM listeners have something to thank for with the FM station's second anniversary celebration. Joanna will tell us why.
The only FM station on wheels, Wish 107.5, celebrates its second year on air. Music and fun filled the day when wishers and OPM artists gathered for the celebration. Listeners who came were also surprised to find out that Wish FM grants wishes through the wishing well and the wishing wall. One wish was to sing on the Wish FM bus. Aliana Crisa Centeno's family was surprised with a treat to a special meal. Dennis Geron received a grocery package too. A beauty treatment and relaxation package await Miss Maribeth Santiago's mother, a wish from her daughter. Wish FM fan Maria Jinky Salem received reading glasses, while both Andrea Romero and Vicky Agupita got wheelchairs. Free concert ticket of popular OPM artist Jason D were also given away to a lucky fan. The celebration also highlighted live performances by OPM artists Michelle Ayalde, Niel de Mesa, Patricia Javier, Paulo Onesa, Zion, Michael Pangilinan, and many more. Joan Nanu, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Those are the reasons behind the news, August 31, 2016. I'm Angelo, Castro III.
Reasons we delivered to you as they unfold. I'm Gerry Alcantara.
And I'm Darlene Basingan, because we need to know.
We will always ask why. Thank you for watching Y News.